Well, thank you. It's a full house. I love seeing that. Thank you, thank you. So, welcome. It's my pleasure to open this academic year's lecture series entitled Publicness. As it has become a little bit tradition, we open our guest lecture series with an alumni of the Huckabee College of Architecture. 2 years ago, we had Pavlina Ilieva and Kao Pao, whose practice is located in Baltimore, and a year ago, we had Jess and Nick Deaver, whose practice is in Austin, Texas. And for making an event such like this, yes, come on in, we're gonna make room. There's still seats there. I see 2 seats right in the front row there. To make this as an event and that everything works, I'm very grateful to our members of the Lecture and Events Committee. With the chair, Nate Imai, David Tuturro, Christy Weir, Asma Men, Rachel Rowe, Lindsay Mims, Oscar Natividad, Jeff Hoover, and Denny Mingus, who are leading this academic year's lecture and events for the college. I also want to thank Derek Wade, who will actually moderate the Q&A after this lecture. So thank you for making that event possible. Our featured alumni, Chris Huckabee, sat in your seat many, many moons ago. Actually, he didn't start his college career in architecture. He started it in the College of Business Administration. Back then was located where the College of Media and Communication is today. Like many of us, the choice of what to study can be a daunting task. So one day, Chris, instead of going to the business administration building, he wandered into the architecture building. And to check it out, pondering if this architecture thing might be something for him. Chris took a path into something new, something somewhat unfamiliar, but something he felt was worth exploring. He met new classmates. He found inspiring professors who still inspire today. So say hello to Professor Emeritus Jim and John White. He also met his future wife, Robins, whose companionship and counsel when landmark decisions are being made are as essential to Chris as breathing air. Chris is a visionary, and his Moore Group is now named in the same breath as architectural firms such as Gensler, Smiths Group, and HKS, just to name a few. Christopher M. Huckabee is the Chief Executive Officer of Moore Group, a family of architecture, design, and engineering brands that focuses on a single area of expertise, comprised of a network of over 700 employees in 22 offices across the United States. Moore Group focuses on education, healthcare, and public architecture, and is ranked by the ENR as one of the top design firms in the nation in these areas. Chris was twice appointed to the Higher Education Coordinating Board and recently served as the chairman of the Board of Regents at Texas Tech University. In addition, he is the past chairman of North Texas Community Foundation and a board member of the Cook Children's Health System. In addition, he is the chairman of the Red Raider Facilities Foundation, a unique private development group responsible for the new Texas Tech Stadium, South End Zone, and Womble Football Training Center. Chris received a bachelor degree in architecture from Texas Tech University and is a registered architect in Texas, Colorado, New Mexico, and the Grand State of Nevada. In my current role, I was fortunate to get to know Chris and his family a bit more. Chris has never forgotten where he came from and where he started out. Many people reach great heights in career and professional accomplishments. Few remember to give back, and even fewer remain humble in all the accomplishments and have given back as much as Chris Huckabee and the Huckabee family. Please help me to give a warm welcome to Chris Huckabee.
There we go. Good afternoon. How's everyone? So this is a pretty special day, 9/11, and thank you all for joining me. Hopefully there are a few seats here. Today's going to be a little bit different lecture. I know you have some really talented people who come to see you that talk about design and what they've done as an architect, and I'm not one of them. So, and I mean, is that pretty fair, Jim and John White? So they agreed. I'm going to talk to you about something completely different today that I hope will really inspire you, and that is we're going to talk a lot about architecture and leadership. And there's a reason I'm going to tell you about that, because I think the world has a ton of problems that need solving, and you are the most equipped humans to do that. Architecture at its core is about problem solving and about serving mankind. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is how do we make that link? And I'm going to talk to you about doing that through being a leader. And some of you in here are like, well, I'm a leader. And some of you are like, whoa, buddy, I'm just in college, back off. Trust me, everybody in this room's a leader. And every one of you has an opportunity in big ways and small ways to influence through problem solving things that we're dealing with today in society. You can be the difference. And I'm going to talk a lot about that today. And I hope that really, it'll be very different than a lot of lectures you've heard in the past, and certainly you will in the future. I heard that there's a lecture committee. Whoever's on the lecture committee, you very well may lose your job after today, and my apologies to those of you for doing that. So we're going to take a little bit different journey getting there today. It is important to me to share a little bit about the name that's on the outside of your building. And so I'm going to spend just a little time there, and then I'm going to move on. We'll go on to other things. So I am going to share a little bit about the Huckabee namesake, because that's very important to me. And then share with you our vision for what's going to take place in the College of Architecture in the years to come, which hopefully will get you very excited. And I want to see you be part of that. And then finally, what I came to do today is talk about your journey to the College of Architecture as a leader through mentors, experiences, paying it forward. And finally, I've got some final thoughts that will really be kind of how I close things out. So, and I'm going to try to do all that in roughly an hour. So I want to start with this. So the gentleman that's name is on your building, Tommy J. Huckabee, is the guy on the right-hand side there. It's my father. He's 89 years old today. And if he knew this picture existed, it wouldn't, because he wouldn't like this picture very much. But I show it to you today to say, this is where everybody's got to start somewhere, and that's where he started. So my granddad is a person on the left-hand side. My granddad was a general contractor here in Lubbock, Texas. And my father started as a carpenter and working for my granddad. And what I should tell you is my granddad was not I use the word contractor, but what I really should say is he was a master builder. When he built a building, he did it all. And I grew up working for my granddad. If he built you a building, it was usually commercial, not residential, but it was going to be, he poured the slab and put the roof on, he built the cabinets, finished the walls, did the painting. He was a true master builder. He did every single thing that had to be done in the construction process, which is very rare today. But he taught that to his son, who's Tommy on the right. But Tommy said there was one thing missing, and that was he kept working with architectural drawings that my dad did not think worked. And he would say, they're pretty pictures, but they're not well coordinated. They don't make a lot of sense, and they're not very buildable. I want to become an architect to elevate the profession. So my dad left working for my granddad. He went to work. He came to Texas Tech, and he made it a full year at Texas Tech before he ran out of money. In those days, there was no access to money. There were no loans. In fact, my dad said he went to First National Bank here, asked the bank president for a loan, and the guy said, tell you what, if you'll change into business, I'll give you a loan. We don't think there's any future in architecture. And my dad said, yeah, I'm going to pass on that. And I'm pretty thankful that he did. But the way he got his education, or the way he became a registered architect, where he made it to that picture, is that he apprenticed. He went to work for a firm, and he worked until he could take his architectural registration, and he became a registered architect. So it was a pretty long way between here and here in order to do that. It was not an easy road. He was a longtime Marine, which gave him some background in leadership for a guy who worked for him. Not always fun, but there were skills that he learned along the way. It was not an easy thing for him. The path was not direct, to say the least. But today, I put this up to say he built a legacy firm. This is truly, you've heard about this maybe, but I'm going to tell you, when I went to work for my father, he had a very successful practice, small, very successful practice that did not have a contract with a client, not one. We did educational buildings, very institutional work. And I came in fresh from Texas Tech and said, Dad, why don't you have contracts? And my dad said, because I shook their hand. We don't need a contract. Never had a contract. Never had a client that didn't pay him, never had a lawsuit. That's a pretty amazing track record, but that's the legacy that's name is on your building. But the reason my dad left and became, when he got his registration, he started what is today Huckabee. The reason he focused on education is because he said, I did not have an education, I believe the world should be educated. And so that was his focus. And his sole mission in life is that more students should have access to an education and be able to afford an education. I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. But that is his why, that's my why. It matters that you're here. It matters that you have access to an education. And hopefully what we're going to do in the years to come gives a lot more students an opportunity to do that. So on the right-hand side, I have a son and a daughter that are part of our business. A young lady on the right is a Texas Tech graduate, is in Denver working for us. She's got a graphic design degree, and my son's actually a CPA, is in our Pacific Northwest office, is our CFO. I didn't get any architects out of it, but I have 3 children and all work for architecture firms. My youngest daughter is a head of marketing for a Nashville architecture firm. So everybody in our family is in the architecture business. And I want to tell you why. Because it's a great profession. It's a great profession. There is nothing more noble than being an architect. There is nothing you could wake up every day and love more than being an architect. And hopefully through today, you'll kind of get that spark with me. So I want to show you this just because it's kind of fun. So Tommy's very much alive at 89. I called him on his 89th birthday in April, and I asked my mother to give me the phone, and she said, well, I can't. He's out doing some roofing. Hold on, I'll take a picture, okay? I chewed his butt out for this, okay? Eventually you get to chew your parents' butts out, by the way. This is my 89-year-old dad on his birthday. I was like, you dummy. So that's who he is, and that's how he lives his life, and he told me to basically shove it. So the guy's living a pretty good life for an 89-year-old. And then I show you this because this is kind of cool. They live on a ranch, and every day my father trots down to their entry gates and puts up these 4 flags. Didn't graduate from Tech, but as far as he's concerned, he did. And every night he goes down and takes them down. And I drove in to check on them last weekend, and those flags were flying. I was like, okay, I gotta snap that picture. That's kind of cool. So this is a guy who lives a good life. And I'm gonna encourage you today to live a life a lot like him, because it's a very fulfilling life to do. All right. Just a very tad bit about me. Well, let me back up for a second. So I already spilled the beans on that one. So I grew up in Andrews, Texas, and in fairness, I did not want to be an architect. I did not want to go to college. So when I graduated from high school, I told my dad I wanted to run their ranch. They have a very large cattle operation, haying operation in Stephenville, Texas, and I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be a rancher. And my dad goes, no problem. All you have to do is give me a college degree and I'll hire you. I don't hire people who don't have college degrees, okay? So, fair enough, I went to college. This is bad. So I went off to Texas Tech, and I very seldom, now, you don't hear about a lot of people who started over in the business side of the campus and end up in architecture. You hear about a few people who start here and head the other direction. Okay, so I got that backwards. My first semester at Texas Tech, I made a 0.7, a 0.7. You guys know how you make a 0.7? You make a C in bowling and fail every other course. It's not a joke. You can look up my transcript. When I went on the Board of Regents, I seriously said, clearly the governor has no clue what my transcript says because I made a 0.7 and somehow here I am. And someone went and polled it and went, I'll be damned, he's not lying. So it's true, guys. I'm not proud of it. It just is the fact. Here's the deal. I am terrified of my father. He's a Marine. This is not a guy you want to cross. He didn't have an education, and he sure didn't appreciate me squandering my first semester at Tech. So because of that, I had to come up with a reason to live through Christmas holiday. So I just lied and told him, I hate being in the business school. I want to be an architect, and it melted his heart, and he was like, all's cool. Guys, I didn't know whether I wanted to be in the business school. I'd never set foot in the business school, okay? I'm serious. There's a lot of bars in town that need to be way better than the business school, but it is what it is. I recovered. So here's the truth. So I came over the next semester, enrolled in the College of Architecture, and fell in love. Fell in love. I'm not kidding. I walked in, and at the end of that semester, I walked out and said, this is the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. Oh my God, I'm home. And I know that sounds crazy. I've got a dad who was an architect and owned his own company. The thought had never crossed my mind, and I loved it. So things changed for me pretty rapidly from there. So today, I swear to y'all, I really did graduate. There's a picture in a minute that proves it. So I joined Huckabee in 1991. I was employee number 5 in the company. I became a registered architect in 1995. Today, I'm CEO of Moore Group. I think you've already heard all this other stuff. So today, what I really do is I have a private equity partner, and what I really do is buy architectural firms, engineering firms, put them together and help grow them across the U.S. And that's really the focus of what I do and where I spend my time, and it's really rewarding. If you look on there, and this is important, and next time I lecture for you guys, I'll do this. It says architecture, engineering, and technology, and a huge piece of what we do today is we have our own technology side. We write AI software for architecture and engineering fields. We're doing some pretty exciting things there. I want to talk about that. I'll do a lecture on it sometime because it's probably, you're entering the architecture field at one of its most critical times and one of its most exciting. And it shouldn't be feared, but I'm telling you, the stuff we're doing in-house with AI that you will never find anywhere online at this point is pretty crazy. It's some of the craziest stuff you've ever seen, and it's going to change our profession. It's going to change it in a really cool way in the years to come. Most important thing on here is this last bullet point. I would not be who I am or where I am today without Texas Tech and without my professors, 2 of them who are sitting here today, who literally changed my life, literally changed my life. And I'll talk about that here in just a second because it's so important to me. So this is who we are today. There's a lot of employees and we do a lot of things, but really in these areas, let me put up our brands and everything. So we're focused on kind of 3 areas: governmental type work, mostly federal, but some municipal. Healthcare, we're the largest healthcare design firm in the nation, and the 3rd largest educational design firm in the nation. So 2 areas that we're really focused on. We do a little federal work. We're not one of the largest federal or municipal groups in the nation, but through our TSK brand, we do quite a bit of municipal work as well. So that's what we do. We also have an engineering arm. Engineering only serves our architectural brands. We're very focused on sustainability, so we have MEP in-house and also structural and civil. And what we're really dialed in on is how you integrate all these great design teams together to make better architecture. And that's really what it's about, is delivering at a higher level. So very quickly, I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to share with you guys today our vision for the College of Architecture and what hopefully will come out of our gift to the College of Architecture. And that is, this question was started. So I want to share this with you. My dad's kind of a tough guy. Even at 89, he's kind of a tough guy. So my wife and I decide, so my wife's an interior designer. My wife and I decide, hey, we're going to do this gift to the College of Architecture. We're going to put my dad's name on the building. Guys, I want to share something with you. My parents are the most simple people you've ever met in your life. They cook at home. They live in the same house they've lived in for 100 freaking years. They drive the same cars. They go to church on Sunday. That's about it. That's about as exciting as it gets, okay? So I go out and say, hey, we're going to put your name on the building at Texas Tech. And my dad kind of crosses his arms and goes, no, you're not. I'm not a name on building person. So I kind of start talking a little bit, and he says this question: what will it do for the students? I want to know, what does it do for the students? So I go through this list. I'm like, okay, when I was sworn in on the Board of Regents, these two gentlemen were there the day I was sworn in, I said, my goal before I leave the Board of Regents is push the plunger on the worst building on the Texas Tech campus. We're going to blow this thing up, and I'm going to build a new College of Architecture. So what did I just tell you guys? I'm a failure, because that was 8 years ago, okay? It didn't happen. I didn't get it done. But you deserve better buildings, okay? You deserve a building that is inspiring of what you do. This building, I'm sorry, is not, okay? Is that blunt enough? I got in a little trouble. Jim White got a little, kind of got after me. He's like, that's a good building. Like, no, it's not. So yeah, I can still fight with my professors. Exactly right. So better facilities. But let me tell you what you need. You need lecture space. You need socialization space. You need some wayfinding, okay? It's just not a joke. This is the same building I walked the halls of over 30 years ago, okay? Not changed. I think I still have a project glued to a wall upstairs. So resources for faculty recruitment and retention. This is a biggie to us. Resources for technology. We're in a very high-tech world, and you guys need access to the technology that we use every day, and it's very expensive, but you need it. We've got to give you access to it. So that's a big piece of this. And finally, resources for students. This is what got my dad. I was like, Dad, my dad was a first-generation student and could not afford to go to college. And I go, we're going to set a goal that more first-generation students will come to Texas Tech. More importantly, not just come into Texas Tech, it doesn't work, graduate from Texas Tech College of Architecture. And when I finished, my dad goes, I'm in, I'm in. You guys don't know this, but that 89-year-old guy watches your graduations online. He does, I mean, he is so invested in what you guys are doing. He is all in for that reason. He wants more students to have more access. I think that's a pretty cool thing. So I'm focused on the building. He's at the other end of the spectrum. He goes, don't care about the building, care about the students. So pretty cool deal. But we think over time, what we're going to be able to do is give you both. And I think it's going to be very fun. And you're going to get to be part of it. Do any of you know what that building is? That's Lou Sterrett Justice Center in downtown Dallas. That's the jail facility in downtown Dallas. You're laughing, but you know where I'm going here, don't you? Well, hey, all I'm going to say is Lou Sterrett, in my opinion, is a little better looking. So it is what, sorry, I'm sorry, okay? Geez, it's true, right? For a guy you two said could never design, at least I have a little taste. So, all right, guys, we got to do something here. I don't know what it is. We've got some students, we've got faculty. I've reached out to alum across the nation that have said they're going to volunteer their time to come spend time with you to help vision what this building could be. And I'm excited about it because I think there's opportunity, and a lot of you are going to get to have a part of that. I think it's going to be a pretty good vision, and I'm excited to see what we can do together over time. So in the fall, we're going to do that. Next year, we'll actually be working on the documents for it, and it's going to be fun to see where this goes. I put this up only to say this is a small example within your building of what could be. Yes, it's one space. I don't know if any of you were here in the old, this is we call it the corner now, but at the time, but prior to this, it was called the Huckabee Student Lounge, which we'd put in 2008. And this is a little bit of an upgrade from that. And what I'm showing you only is to say, guys, there's a lot of potential. And I want to show you this. So this is our offices, one of our offices in Fort Worth, but it's the same vintage building. It's actually built the same way. Exactly. It's got the same floor heights. It's got the same cast concrete. It's the same freaking building. Exactly. It's just as ugly on the outside. I could keep going here, but I only show you this to say it's one of the most inspiring architectural spaces you will ever walk in. So understand, so we didn't get to demo it and start over. If we do this right, we have an opportunity to do something that will impact generations after you, and that's got to be exciting to you. So just, I mean, it's the same concrete, you know, yeah, we've opened up some floors and done some things, but it's the same thing. So it is possible that with the right vision, the right thinking, we can do something big together. So now I get to what I really want to talk to you about today. So there's 4 things I really want to dive into, and this is first and foremost, and I did not know, I was sitting here and these two walked in. I had no idea they were coming to this. We were going to have dinner tonight, but had no idea they were coming to this. But it's kind of fun for me to get to talk about this in front of them because then they'll keep me honest, and trust me, they're going to keep me honest. So I want to start with this project. You know that project, don't you? So this is how I met John White. Okay, so those of you that don't know, Jim and John White are twins. One of them's mean and one of them's nice, and I'll let you figure out which is which. I'm just kidding. They're both nice. I was told when I was a student, one was mean and one was nice. And my first professor in the College of Architecture was John White, and he was clearly the mean one. Okay, I want to explain. My first project ever was this tower. Okay. And that jerk gave me a C, okay? So I went to his office. You remember this, don't you? I went to his office and I told him, I'm insulted. It's the best project up there, okay? So he says, all right, hotshot, let's just go walk up there and I will critique you personally. Guys, when he finished, I was about an inch high, and I was so thankful he did not give me an F for the pile of crap I had put up on the wall. I was so thankful, but I want to share something with you, and this is why when your professors are giving you a hard time, you ought to listen. He did something I never had anyone do ever for me, and he said, you're too good for this. You have too much talent. This is exactly what he said to me. Thank God. I said, I know enough about this. This could be built. This is exactly my quote. My stairs work, my elevator works, and it's to code. And his quote was, thank God we don't build this, because that pile of crap people would have to stare at the rest of their life. Wow. And I'm just getting lower and lower and lower. But he said something to me that really mattered. And he was like, you're too good for this. And if you will just relax and lighten up a little bit and have a little fun, I actually think you're going to be one of the best architects I've ever met. He changed my life that day by doing that. I didn't like it. He didn't change my grade, by the way. I didn't like it. He didn't say it's better than that 0.7 you made last semester, hot shot, but you know, that's kind of where we were going. But that's where it started, and that's how I met John White and ultimately Jim White. But they did something that I'd never had anybody do, and that was they poured into me and they had belief in me that I did not have in myself. These two cats right here, other than my mother and father, are the two most influential people in my life, okay? Been a few years since I've been in the College of Architecture. We're still as close as family. They are family, and I mean that. So the reason I put it up is not to say go get Jim and John White to be your mentor. It's to say you need a mentor, okay? You also need to be a mentor. You may not think that. You may say, well, I'm not at a point where I can be a mentor to someone else. It's not true, okay? You have an ability to go pour into other people just as you need people to pour into you. This is not a world you can do it alone. Had I not had two mentors who poured into me like they did, I, without question, would have been less successful in the College of Architecture than I was in the College of Business. It's a fact. You need to find someone who will be honest with you. They didn't mentor me by telling me I was good. They actually mentored me by pushing me hard. They convinced me that the world was a much bigger place. that I need to get out of my comfort zone. They used to critique every project I had, and I'm pretty sure, except for my thesis, not once ever did they tell me that was a really good project. They'd go, it's okay. They pushed me and pushed me and pushed me, but I always knew it was for the right reasons. What? Hey, thesis was pretty good. I got an A in thesis, so maybe you just felt sorry for me. I don't know. So I did graduate, and that's what this proves, or at least it's a good Photoshop, but I did graduate. That is my dad, John, and me at my graduation. But one of the things they taught me along the way that I want to push each of you to do where you are is to have some experiences, not just get straight through school. And what you may tell me is, hey, that's great. I'm trying to earn a living here. I'm trying to pay for this. And so you got to work this out. But most of what I'm going to show you, actually all of what I'm going to show you, were paying jobs. So the first job I ever had in my life was working on this project right here. My boss was John White. Probably the most, I don't know, you worked on a lot of these projects, got to be the most challenging project you ever worked on, or close to it. So, okay, Statue of Liberty, there you go. This was a tough project. So this is in San Juan, Puerto Rico. El Morro is the fort, and we were documenting this fort for the Historic American Building Survey. And yes, you do whatever you have to do to document a fort that's got sheer walls like this. We would rappel down the sides of the walls with a little thing called an EDPM, and you would set it, and someone would sit on the ground and shoot points. And then ultimately, we created a set of the most spectacular documents you've ever seen in your life that were used by the Historic American Building Survey. Here's what I learned out about that. One, very challenging environment, very difficult to get the drawings done, and we got them done, very difficult. More importantly, what I learned here is we had a team from all across the world, not all across the US, all across the world. Some didn't speak, I think 2 of them spoke different languages. John and I didn't speak those languages. We worked fine together, and what it taught me was that's the way the world works, guys. That's the way the world works. We're not all the same. We shouldn't be all the same. We had the time of our life together, and we got it done. We had a lot of obstacles along the way, but it was the most rewarding job ever, and it set me off. So part of it, and this was a paying job, so this was in the summertime. So I do encourage you, if you can do something like this, do it. It's worth it. I would never have done that if my mentors hadn't pushed me to say, go do it, go do it, go do it. So out of my comfort zone, goofy kid from Andrews, Texas and Puerto Rico. So fun. And if you guys hadn't been to Puerto Rico, amazing place, amazing. Then I went off to this place. This is Breckenridge, Colorado. Went to work doing an internship for a guy named John Gunson. And John Gunson basically designed all of Breckenridge. I'm really sad to hear, I think they're retiring, or he has retired. Worked with one of your professors here in this town. Really, really special place. But I go to work for John, and I'm going to start with this image. John gives me my own project, okay? He mistakenly thinks because I grew up with a father that was an architect, I knew what I was doing, and I wasn't going to tell him any other way. So I was like, heck yeah, I'll do it. I didn't have the slightest idea what I was doing. So he gives me this project, which we ultimately turned into this. One of the most special projects I ever worked on. I took it from beginning to end. In fact, the guy liked me so much, the day before it opened, he let me have a romantic one-on-one, just my, at the time, girlfriend, now wife. My wife and I dated at Tech. I brought her up to Breckenridge, Colorado, and we literally had a candlelit dinner in the restaurant the day before it opened. So the guy was still speaking to me, apparently, that built this. Really special project. However, that's not the lesson here. This guy is the lesson. You remember this, don't you, Jim? I call Jim White, and I say, I'm in trouble. So I've designed this whole thing. I've got this beautiful set of documents. I didn't know you had to have a permit. I didn't know what that was, okay? So John Gunson tells me, go get a permit, okay? I seriously have to go over and, hey, what's a permit? Okay. And I figure it out. So I go down and I turn the documents in, and the code guy, this hotshot, says, hey, what did you review this under? And I look at him so blankly because I've never opened I didn't even know what a code book was. I'm not kidding with you guys. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He thought I was being a smartass, and he starts yelling at me, all you snot-nosed John Gunson architects think you can just come in here and ram these drawings down our throat. And I'm telling you guys, I was none of those things. I did not know what I was doing. And so I left. I backed off and left, and John goes, how did it go? And I go, I don't think we're getting a permit today. And John's like, yeah, you're not getting a permit today, hotshot. So we did get a permit. I did learn about code, but I remember calling Jim and saying, I'd never even heard obviously I'd heard of a code book. I just never opened one. I didn't know anything about them. And it was a deep, deep lesson for me to say, I don't know everything, okay? And I have to acknowledge that, and I've got to reach out to others to really give me advice on how to do this. This was one of the last projects I worked on doing an internship, and this was just interesting. I'm out on a job site, and I've designed a bank vault. I will not tell you where, and when I tell you in a minute why, you'll understand. So I'm doing this bank vault, and the contractor walks up to me, and he says, hey, did you follow FDIC rules to design this bank vault? And I go, uh-huh, okay. I didn't know the FDIC had rules for designing a bank vault. And I go, why? And he goes, it's the least amount of steel I've ever seen designed in a bank vault in my life. And I go, uh-huh, and we built it. And I'm not telling you where it is. So, and apparently the FDIC, so if you guys don't know, the FDIC insures us, but they also insure banks. So if someone hacks into a bank vault and steals all the money, they pay the bank back, but you have to build the bank vault in according to their standards, okay? I missed that little part, okay? So this one was big though, and this is the reason I tell you this. I'll tell you what that lesson was, is I remember saying that day, I'm never gonna be anything less than an expert. It's the reason when I put up a minute ago, we do very narrow things. We're the very best at education. We're the very best at healthcare. You know why we do those? Because I know what we're doing. I'm not gonna have this bank vault issue. And I remember just leaving saying, I'm not of value to my clients if I am not an expert in what I'm doing. It's not what every architect does, and I get that, but it was my why. It was my thing, was I wanna be valuable to my clients. I wanna bring so much value in the knowledge that I have. This was all learned while I was a student. Now, I put up a minute ago, I was a student for a long time, but part of it was because I went off and I did something that I was recommended by my mentors, and that was I went off and got opportunities other places, and then I came back and would finish my education, and it made me a better student. It really, truly made me a better student. So I hope you get the opportunity to do that along the way. So this is important. I want you guys to really hear this, because it's maybe other than either your vision of architecture or maybe even what you've been told, but this is what these taught me. This is how the world sees an architect. You're Superman. You're everything. You're all-knowing. You're the smartest person in the room. You know everything about everything, okay? It's just the portrayal of an architect. It's true. It's the world gets pushed out that. Here's the reality. It can be a very difficult profession. Don't let it be a difficult profession. Do not let it do that. Do not get out of balance, okay? It's not how the world works. It is not how you should work. And it will not be an indicator of your success in life. Trust me, it won't. So work hard to take care of yourself and find balance. Trust me, it won't be easy at times. Some of you probably have lived this. If you're far enough along, even in your education, it's been tough. Start earlier, pace yourself, do the things you need to do. Same with your career. I have a hard and fast rule. We will not allow people to work around the clock in our office. That is not what this profession should be about at all, but it is. And unfortunately, it's that. Well, we're Superman. We can just do anything. Baloney. don't do it. It's not what this profession's about. This is more important. This is my key to success right here. Great leaders aren't great leaders because they know everything about everything. I remember my first day working at Huckabee, and I asked this old crusty construction guy, when will I know it all? And he barked at me, never. And I remember thinking, well, that's not the answer I was looking for, but it's true. You'll never know it all. It's not the idea. The idea is blend yourself with other people who are great at other things. Okay, at the top of my leadership are 3 people who all graduated with me in the College of Architecture at Texas Tech. Okay, they were just better at things I'm not good at. Okay, we've pretty well established I may be the worst designer in the history of mankind, but you know what? Conrad Judd, when I was going through Texas Tech, I used to sit and marvel at how easy he made it look. How easy. The guy was a genius, okay? Well, why do I want to do that when I can hire the best? So that's one of my business partners, okay? Same, you surround yourself with things you're not great at. And what you do by doing that is you build excellence. So just keep in mind, you don't have to be everything to everybody. You don't have to be Superman. At the end of the day, that is what this profession's about. It's teamwork. One of the things that drives me nuts, Dean and I spent time on it today, is that interior design is across campus, okay? Do you think interior design is across campus at my office? Some of the most talented people in my company are interior designers, graphic designers, engineers. We're not all separate. We all work together. You can't work that way. It's a team sport. This is an average project for us. These are all the people on the project, not individuals, but titles, which means there's probably 150, 250, 350 people on a project, but there are all these expertise, and you need them. But what that means is you got to figure out how to work together in order to be successful doing that. But it also means you do not have to be an expert at everything, and you shouldn't. I'm good at what I do, and I surround myself with people who are great at other things, and together we're really good at what we do. And I hope if nothing else, what you'll take away from that is, trust me guys, if designing great projects had been what I needed to do to be successful, I never would have graduated from the College of Architecture. I found a niche doing what I did, and other people found a niche. You should find that too. What do you love to do? I love people. I love growing businesses. It's what I love to do. My head of design hates business, hates it, doesn't want to talk finance and any of that stuff. Great, no problem. That's what I'm here for. So find your niche and grow yourself. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you a little story about my journey going through, because this is going to be important for you. 1997. I had not been in the company long, very small company. I think in 1997 we were 10 employees. My father walks into my office. I've pretty well described my dad accurately. He's a Marine, could be a tough guy. Never seen my father emotional ever, other than being tough. He walks in, he closes the door, and he starts sobbing. I've never seen this in my life. It was uncontrollable sobbing. My mother, the day before, had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And my dad says, I'm done. It's over. Buy me out. I went home that night. This is a God's honest, true story. And I said, Robin, we are so screwed. My dad's going to leave. He wants me to buy him out. I am so incapable of running this business. We're done. It's over. And my wife said, probably because she agreed, it's okay. He'll come back. Don't worry. She didn't say, you got this. She said, no, it's okay. He'll go take care of your mom and he'll be back. So the positive is my mom was fine, ultimately, but he never came back. Never came back. Those were both positives, by the way. He said, you got it, buy me out, and that's it. But I struggled because I didn't know what I didn't know. I was in my late 20s, and I was very ill-equipped to run a business. And even if I tried hard, there were just a lot of things I didn't know. So along came 2001. 2001, this young man was working, and this name may mean something to some of you because there's a scholarship in the College of Architecture called the William, I think we call it the Tim Terry Scholarship. It's a William Timothy Terry Scholarship. So Tim was a young man who had come to Huckabee. He'd come every summer, every spring break, every Christmas, year after year after year, and I was very close to Tim. We're a small company, so I really got to know every single person intimately well. I mean, we really worked together day in and day out. Tim had spent a lot of time with me. So Tim had graduated in the summer of 2001, and in October of 2001, I get a call the night before, I can tell you exactly when it was. It was October 16th of 2001, and it's the night before my anniversary. I get a call, and it's a hospital in Fort Worth. They say Timothy Terry's been in an accident. His mother has asked that you show up to be with him, okay? And I remember, by the way, guys, this is the old days. My wife answers the phone, there really is a phone, and hands me the phone and says, it's John Peter Smith Hospital, and I take it. And I remember I'm hanging up, and the lady says, do you have any idea where John Peter Smith Hospital is? And I said, no, ma'am, I don't. And she tells me I go up there. So Tim lived for 3 days and passed away. He'd had a pretty bad accident. Been out with his girlfriend and actually had been T-boned, but he lived for 3 days. So that first night I'm by myself. I'm sitting in the hospital, and it defined who I ultimately became as a leader. And what I did is I'm sitting in that hospital. I remember thinking, I suck as a doctor. There's nothing I can do for this guy. Nothing, literally nothing. But by God, I can take care of his family. That's who I am. It defined my leadership. It defined my why in the world, and I've never changed from that. So being a leader, ready or not, here's the most important thing I can tell you. One, you don't get to choose when you're a leader. It gets chosen for you. Just say yes when it happens, okay? But here's the most important part. Anybody can lead through good times. You get defined in bad times, and that's the truth. What it taught me is my why. And this is valuable because that was 2001, and the culture of our company today stems back to this day. What I figured out was this was me. Our families count on us, and we have an obligation to them, and without question, I will be there for anybody who's in our company at a moment's notice. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every person in our company will have my number. They will call me, and I will be there for them. And I tell any new employee, 700 employees across the U.S., actually, and I saw the number, it's almost 1,000 now, and every single one of them have my number, and they know they can call me. I don't have anybody that keeps my records, anybody that stands in the way. They're welcome to call me. I answer the phone. I always tell them this. You can call me at 2 in the morning if you need something, I'll answer the phone. Don't call me at 2 in the morning to see if I'll answer the phone, because that'll go badly. But and trust me, people call at 2 in the morning, and if they do, I'll help them. That became my why, and it became my why because of Tim's family. I am still as close to Tim's family today as I was the day of his funeral. I still talk to his mother all the time. I am still so close to them because that matters to me, and it certainly matters to them. So my big three, and you have to define this for yourself. I'm not telling you this is yours. I'm telling you, you got to figure out your why, okay? This is mine. I'm going to be accessible to every single person. I have no admin. No one keeps my calendar. They're welcome to come in my office. They're welcome to call me. They're welcome to email me. The other thing, though, is that I'm honest. If it's good, I tell them it's good. If it's bad, I tell them it's bad, okay? I will never candy coat anything. And that's important because when people know they're working for an honest leader, they'll work harder, okay? And guys, trust me, it's not always good. But if you're honest with people, you can always tell them where it's going. And that's important. And I'm accountable. I'm always going to make sure anything happens. I got a call last week. I'll tell you how far this goes. I got a call last week from someone over in our healthcare side, and a person said, I just need some help. I think my family's about to lose their home. Okay? That's pretty random. Okay? That's not even an employee. This is the parents of an employee. And he said, can you help me? And it's like, let me tell you what I can do. Let me hire a lawyer, and let's dive into the documents, and let's see if we can save their house. Okay? I'm not going to go write a check to save their home, but let's see if we can do it. And we did. So there are sometimes opportunities to do really good things. So, and I love that. And the person actually started by saying, man, I'm really, really sorry. And I was like, no, don't be sorry. That's the right thing to call me for. It's the exact right thing to call me for. So be accessible, be honest, be accountable. That's my why. It's why I do what I do. It's why I get up every day. So find your why as a leader. And you're all going to be called on to be a leader. So please find your why. All right. If you get this all right, there's still one piece of this left. It's very, very important. And every one of you has a skill that you need to put to work. And that is you need to pay it forward. And I want to show you 3 examples. And you may say at the end of these, well, I don't have an opportunity to do this, but I'm going to give you an opportunity at the end to think about this. So this might not mean anything to you guys, but this was the explosion in West Texas in the 17th of April, I want to say 2013, and I'm going to get that probably off. But so this was a fertilizer plant. The town had built up around it, and it one night caught on fire, and when the firemen were putting it out, it exploded. This community it killed 13 firemen. I was in this town about 4 hours after the explosion happened, and I'm not kidding you I have never, ever witnessed anything like this in my life. It was devastating. So they went to bed. Well, this became triage. This was their football field. They went to bed that night, went home and were having dinner, thinking the world was okay. And about 7 o'clock at night, this explosion happened. They triaged on the football field because there were so many injured people in town, and I've never seen this many devastated homes. And it looked like a nuclear blast. It was crazy what I saw. So we got on site because they lost every single school in their community in one fell swoop. And so we were on site by early the next morning, mainly just engineers, just to try to help the community out, to figure out if there was anything that we could save, and we needed to stabilize buildings and things like that. And unfortunately, there wasn't much to save. It was pretty devastating. This is the reason this is an important picture, though. So I went and I met with the school board and I said, guys, this was in April. They had about a month left of school. And I said, if you don't have normalcy in August, your community could die. So we need to build an entire campus for all your kids in just a few weeks. So that was a vacant site we found. And that is, in 6 weeks, we built everything from science labs, gymnasiums, bathrooms, full cooking commercial kitchens. Every single thing you would need was built in 6 weeks, okay? And what you might think is, big deal, there's not a whole lot of architecture in that. That's what we're built to do, okay? Use your skill in places. No one was submitting that for any design awards, I get it. Changed the community. It said, hey, we got to get this built to put your kids back in buildings so we can go rebuild all your campuses. I made a statement to them, and it was, by the way, their football field was destroyed because it had so many needles on it. Think about that, because it was triage. They were just dropping needles everywhere. So we had to roll up the football field, but I told them, if we don't play football on your field for the first game of the year, we failed. That day was a big day. That's when you change the world, okay? You didn't pay me to do that. This was to do something to change the world, okay? Show you a couple of other examples of this. You guys know what that is? Robb Elementary in Uvalde, okay? Site of one of the worst shootings certainly in elementary school. And afterwards, about a week after this, I got a call from somebody and they said, how do you put children back in Robb Elementary? They were calling on me as an expert in design for education. And I said, you can't. And the guy literally pushed back. He goes, what do you mean you don't? We put kids back in high schools. It's like, yep, it's different. We don't put children back in elementary schools. That building's got to be raised. And he said, well, we've got a bigger problem. He said, you ever been at Uvalde? I said, no. He said, they don't have the money. There would be no way for them to build a new building. He goes, Chris, not possible. He goes, what do we do? I want to share with you guys how good people are. That's horrible. But I want to share with you, not everyone in the world's horrible. I made 2 calls in 24 hours, and we started building them a new school. So today, that's their building's under construction. We've raised $60 million. I made 2 calls. I want to share those 2 calls. There's a grocery store chain called HEB. And I called the founder of HEB, a man named Charles Butt, and he answered the phone. I'm not kidding, it's 1 week after this, and he answered the phone and said, I knew you were going to be calling me. I went, that's creepy. I go, how'd you know I was going to be calling you? And he goes, how much? This is not a joke. This is how this conversation went. He goes, how much? And I said, I don't know. And he goes, well, give me an idea. And I said, I think I need 25 million. So I missed it by half, more than half. I said, I think I need 25 million. And he quizzed me a little bit. He said, well, the president's just been there, and the president said the U.S. was going to pay for this. And he said, why don't we let the U.S. pay for it? And I said, here's the deal. I learned something valuable in West. People will tell you when the cameras are rolling anything you want to hear, okay? When the cameras turn off, people's memory's 2 weeks. 2 weeks. There's so much going on in the world, and it's so fast. 2 weeks is how long we're going to have, and people are going to move on to something else. There's just too much out there. Federal government's not paying for this. They're not coming. If you're going to let the federal government come, they're never coming. We're going to let a community really die, and they've already suffered enough. So he said, I'll call you back in 24 hours, okay? Second call to a contractor in San Antonio, Joris Construction, is an excellent contractor. Got Jerry Joris on the phone. I said, got a deal. I'm going to design a school for free. You're going to build it for free. This is not a joke. He goes, free, like free? That's exactly what he said. And he goes, you're not designing it for free. And I go, 100% free at no cost whatsoever. And he goes, seriously, like you got consultants and stuff. I said, Gary, I've been told by my team it's going to cost me $3.5 million. I'll find the money. We're going to do it. I need you to do the same. And he goes, whoa. Okay, I'm in. No, he hedged himself here. He goes, I'm in, but that's not free. We still have to have sub-consultants. We still have to have material. It's going to take a while. You get that money, I'm in. It's like, done. 9 o'clock the next morning, Charles Butt calls me back and said, okay, I'm in. I'll write the check. I picked the phone, called Gary Joris. He went, like, seriously, you have the money? Like that. I mean, it was like, oh, he went, gulp, you know. So I tell you this to say, as an architect, sometimes it's not about a design. Sometimes it's not about a fee. Sometimes it's not about money at all. It's about using your talents. It's about building habitat for humanity. It's about using your problem-solving skills. It's about doing really cool things, okay? It doesn't have to be something tragic. Can be, because you're well-suited to answer the call. And there's a heck of a lot of people need your skills, okay? But whatever it is, find your niche. Trust me when I say it ain't gonna be about money to you. I get it. You need certain amounts of money to live. It's not where you're gonna find your satisfaction in the world. I'll use this one. Logan, where's Logan? Logan, raise your hand. Y'all wanna hear about the Tech Stadium project when I finish? That's Logan West. Logan's an alum. And this is Logan's project. So we were just crawling all over this a little while ago if you want to hear about this, but this for me is a fun project, okay? Getting to do this project is probably not as rewarding as doing a Uvalde, but I wish I wasn't doing Uvalde. That makes sense to all of you, I hope. But this is a lot of fun. So this is the Tech Stadium project, and this is where it is today. And this is a pretty cool project. And this is, again, being able to use my talents in a place that is a lot of fun. To be able to say, we can do some things here at Texas Tech to have vision that people might not have had in the past, and to be able to drive something forward in a pretty cool way. When this is done, this is going to be one of the coolest things we've done for Tech Athletics. But it's been thinking a little bit different for Tech Athletics, and we have some donors who've written the checks to make that happen, which is pretty special. So there's different ways, and what I'm going to encourage you to do is, if you really want to make a difference, do one of these. Do something with your talents. Every one of you has that talent. All right, I'm going to wrap it up with this. Very final thoughts. Love your work and be proud of what you do, okay? That's pretty easy. Every one of you should do that. I don't care what you do. Drive a trash truck. I don't care. Do whatever you do, but do it with excellence. Do it the absolute very best you can. I wake up every day and jump out of bed because I love what I do. You should love what you do. If you don't love it, go do something else. I mean that. That's important. Have measurable annual goals. Seriously, I have a notebook right there, and it's got my measurable annual goals in it. I actually joke and say I have them so I can at least fail at a bunch of things every year. You know, it's like lose weight. No, I failed at that one. Whatever. Doesn't matter. You're going to fail at some things, and you're going to get some things right. But guys, if you don't have goals, and they're your goals, don't show them to anybody. But if you don't have them, you'll never. You know, what can you hit if you don't know what you're aiming at? So have that always. Say yes when leadership comes your way. Please don't say no. Please don't say you're not ready. No one's ready, okay? Think I was ready at 27 years old? Of course not. Just fake it, okay? Do whatever you have to do. I mean it. Leadership is an action. Leadership is an action. If someone comes to you and tells you they're the leader, they're not, okay? They're not. Someone has to tell you they're your boss, they're not, okay? That's baloney. Leadership is an action. Leaders are who they are because they lead, okay? Keep that in mind. Please say yes because it's coming your way. One of you right now is going, crap, someone asked me to do something yesterday. I don't want to do it. Do it. Failure is a big part of your path to success. This is a biggie, okay, guys? You're going to fail, all right? If you don't, you're being way too safe. You're being too comfortable. You don't fail. You never build the character to succeed. Failure is an event. Move past it. Just move past it. We all fail. We fail often. I don't even want to get started with all my failures, okay? We all fail. It's okay. Please don't let that stop you. Do not be afraid of criticism, especially in this world. If you're going to be successful, people are going to criticize you. If you get put out there, if you put yourself out there, people are going to criticize you. Just move on, okay? This is a really big one for me. It takes a lifetime to build your reputation, about 5 minutes to just destroy it. Always do what you say you'll do. Stand for it. Always do what you'll say you'll do. And that's easy to do. People always tell me they'll do it, and then when it gets a little hot, you're like, okay, you're wavering on me a little bit there. Always do what you say you'll do. Never stop learning. That goes back to my when will I know it all? You'll never know it all. It's okay. You don't want to know it all, okay? You just want to never stop learning. I read. I read and listen to podcasts. I don't watch TV. I read constantly because I want to know what's out there and I want to know what's going on. I want to see what other people think. Maybe it's a view I don't know. That's great. You know, just keep going. Define your core beliefs. They're yours. They're not anyone else's. Define your core beliefs and do not give those up for anybody, okay? Please, that's so important, whatever they are. I'm not telling you what they should be. I'm telling you ought to have them. Surround yourself with ethical people that complement your talents. What you don't want to surround yourself with are crooks, okay? And it sounds funny, but it's true. If you surround yourself by people who have talents other than you who aren't set the right way, you could head off in a bad direction. So you need to be with ethical people in order to really enhance your team. That's the thing that's been my gift in the world, is that I've been surrounded by amazingly talented people, but ethical people who've really always been on the same team with me. This is a biggie, and I always look down when I do this. Now, in fairness, I was on a construction site this morning, but shine your shoes. It doesn't have anything to do with shoes, by the way. I want you all to think about this for a second. So one of my longtime business partners was an architect and a lawyer. His name was Jerry Hammerlin, and Jerry used to always say to anyone, shine your shoes. And it didn't mean your shoes needed to be shined. What it meant was you need to think ahead, okay? Details matter. What he would say is if your shoes were shined, I knew you thought about the day before, and you paid attention to the details. And that's what he would always say, shine your shoes. Didn't mean shine your shoes, but everyone would go and look down. That wasn't what he meant. I swear it gets that reaction. But what he means is, hey, pay attention to the details. If you're thinking ahead of time, and guys, details matter and make a huge difference. This is a biggie, and in this world, I don't get this at all. Just treat others with respect. Because, you know, sometimes people are going to have a different opinion. They're going to treat them with respect, no matter what. Never regret how you treat somebody. And by the way, guys, we all get this wrong. At some point, you're going to do something where you look back a day, a week, a month, a year later and say, I really didn't handle that right. Fix it, okay? I've been there. I do it all the time. But you got to own it. And you just got to say, hey, I didn't handle that right. I'm sorry. You know, be genuine in making it right if at some point you get it wrong. And by the way, we all get it wrong. Life is about real experiences. Please get off your phones. I mean, I'm serious. I get it. The phone's part of life, but there's just a whole lot more to it. Happiness is tied to serving others. Trust me on that, guys. You make all the money in the world. You need to pay it forward. I get you want a house, a car, you pay off your student loans, you want to graduate. I get all that. And I'm totally supportive of that. But afterwards, you get to a certain point in life, paying it forward will be the thing that matters most. Think this through. If one of you right now is having a really bad day, this is a really, 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 really important thing to think about. Just get up every morning and say, today I'm going to be the very best version of who I can today. I can't do a thing about tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow's tomorrow. I can't do anything about how things went yesterday, but I can get up today and be the best version of who I am today. That will really help you a little bit. The most important thing I can leave you with, guys, if you take any notes today, stay in college forever, okay? Never leave college. So my mother is 88 years old. This is it, by the way, I'm done. 88 years old. I'm standing at the doorstep, Andrews, Texas. I'm going to college. In those days, apparently parents didn't move their children into the dorm, and my mother hugs me. My mother has never had a smoke of anything in her life or a drink of alcohol. She's a very religious, straight up lady, and she hugs me and she says, stay in college as long as you can, and whatever you do, have so much fun. And I was like, I think I'll take her up on that. So for years, every time my father would call screaming at me, I'd say, well, Mom said. That worked for a while, and then at the end, I got kicked out. So guys, with that, the most unlecture lecture you guys hopefully have ever heard in the College of Architecture, and we'll follow it up with any questions we can. Thank you very much, by the way. You need a better button.
I had to go get it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for this inspiring talk. Any questions from the room? We let Derek to get queued up and wired up, and we'll make sure we get your questions. Thank you.
Test. We're going to lose a few.
Thank you, sir, for coming to and talk to our students. My name is Amy Peterman. I'm the academic advisor here in the College of Architecture. I was moved by your slide about the West explosion. I knew people that lived in West, and I went to high school in Axtell High School in Waco in that area. So I remember watching that, and I would just want to say thank you for doing that, because I have friends and family, or friends that have family that lost family members, and the pride and the devastation of that was just heartbreaking, because I was here in Waco or in Lubbock watching it, and it was just, I was texting, and the fact that you made phone calls and you told the people what they wanted to hear, and they needed that support at that moment, because that is a very prideful town. I actually bought my wedding dress from one of the shops in that town, and so that community brought that community together, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. And just to talk to the students, you don't realize how just that generosity brought to that small community. I think it's a 3A school, very small. They have a great West Fest, so if you ever get a chance to go to West Comma, Texas, Labor Day weekend, they probably just had it. And they have the best kolaches there, so yes, you probably had some at Check Up. So I just wanted to say thank you. And what you said, the final thoughts, I try to tell the students that every time I talk to them. When they come into my office, it's okay to, fail. My mom taught me that. You learn your best lessons from failing than you do from success. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
coming
You
and
know,
talking
I'll
to the
add on a
students.
comment about Wes that's really interesting. So we're walking around like 2 days later, and one of the board members, school board members, is a lady, and she's just sobbing. And I walked up to her and said, "It'll be okay. We're going to get this rebuilt." And she said, "None of us have homes. Literally none of us. Every single one of us, our houses are laying on the ground. We don't have houses, our possessions, we lost our animals, they're gone." And I was like, "And you're at a meeting talking about rebuilding your community?" Wow. I mean, it just, there's some resilience in people right there. It was pretty amazing to watch.
Chris, when we're waiting on questions to either come from the audience with the microphone or online, we've got 60 or so people online here that may ask questions also. Okay. We'll wrap this up in about 20 minutes so that we can have go on to the next part of the activity. But while we're waiting for those activities to come in, you were interviewed not too long ago by Chris Powers, and the topic came up about wealth, and you said something about wealth that I thought was profound, and I'd like to ask you that question again about how can one be successful, and how can they measure that?
You know, well, hopefully my theme today kind of does that. Let me tell you something. I know many of you probably say, "Boy, what I'd like to be in life is rich," and I'm going to tell you, you are. That's a state of mind, and I think people think, you know, that's having a lot of money to throw around and go buy things, and really, a wealthy person is a person who uses what they've been given in ways to really help other people. And I really think that's what we're put on earth to do. We're not put on earth to buy 2 more sports cars. I just want y'all to know that. And again, I get it. You know, some of you are going to go on, trust me, to be fabulously wealthy people in life and be very successful, but you're going to reach a point where none of that matters, but taking care of other people really matters. In that comment with Chris Powers, I take a very hard position. So I have 3 children, all grown. And when they were very young, one of my daughters made a comment to me that scared me to death. It was the most, I'm not going to repeat it because it's horrible, but it was the most privileged comment I'd ever heard in my life. And I went home and said to my wife, "Oh my God, we're raising horrible children." And it scared me. And so we sat our 3 children down. They were really pretty young at the time, and said, "Hey, you guys need to realize this is what you're going to get. We owe you a happy household, and we're going to give you an education anywhere you want to go, except the University of Texas." It's true. We actually told them we would drop them at the city limits if they wanted to go to the University of Texas, but we wouldn't pay for it. So we'll give you an education anywhere you want to go, and we'll pay for it, which is, in my opinion, a pretty good thing. And everything else we're going to give away in life, 100%. You won't get a penny. And I remember, so I have 3 children, one graduate of Baylor, one graduate of Tech, and one graduate of Trinity, and also went on got a master's and is a CPA. My son's a CPA. And my son is the oldest, really good soul, and he walks in the next day and he says to me, "Can I ask you a question? What can I do in life to make the most money?" And I said, "Wrong question, totally wrong question. What you want to ask is, what can I do in life that I will love the most in life and get up every day and do with excellence? And if I get up every day and do it with excellence, hell, it won't make any difference what you do. You'll be successful." Yeah, I'm just telling you, you will be successful. You can be the best at anything, but do what you love, because who the heck would want to get up every day, make a lot of money, and do something you hate? I mean, I'm sorry. Some of you are probably going, "Me?" I'm telling you, you don't want to do that. Do something you love with people you love. And he went on to be a CPA, and I've never met a person more fit CPA. I mean, the guy is the most analytical human being alive. But he came to me one day and said, "I love what I do. I absolutely," he's the CFO of our company. He said, "I love what I do. I'm taking care of people, and I'm making sure things are right, and making sure everybody's, you know, gets their paycheck." And I mean, he loves what he does. And I do think that's important, that there is a very big difference in those and figuring it out. It's the difference between happiness and misery. There's a lot of miserable rich people in the world, by the way, guys. But trust me, a lot. You just got to be really cautious about that.
Steve.
This scares me to death, this thing right here, so forgive me.
It scares me to death that you have it in your hand, so.
Well, don't say that. I love you too. I mean, a couple of comments and then I'd like you to respond to something. First of all, every person on the face of this earth thinks you and I as architects have one room full of 20s, one room full of 50s, and then that special room full of $100 bills. I have not found that in a
Still looking?
Well, we had to cut that out because of budget when we did our office.
Yeah.
That guy right there made 2 telephone calls. What you do, maybe what I do, is you touch people that have the ability to change the face of this earth.
Amen.
For the best. That's what he's telling you.
And they trust you. They
That's right.
trust you.
So that's wealth.
Yeah.
There was something else he said up there. He said, be humble. This is not about you saying, well, look what I did. I've been blessed with doing some pretty interesting projects. Oh, he never returned my call to do the South End Zone building, damn it. Because I did most everything around there. He's about to tear one of my buildings down. Shame on you.
It's only 10 years old, right? Isn't it like
No,
10?
it's 20.
Oh, 20, okay, 20. Well, we just discovered there's no asbestos, so it's not that old. So.
Well, but I left some chunks of concrete. It's going to just destroy your crane. Sorry.
So noted, so noted.
It's 2 to 3 feet thick, no problem. But what you do, what you have the ability to do, what you're gaining in this building, and I was actually the first class out of this building. Almost got arrested once because I was taking a tour and I scared the guard half to death. He scared me half to death. We ran like hell in both opposite directions. But what you have the ability to do is change lives. And you're going to change lives, and it's going to be a wonderful experience. Unfortunately, the bigger the project, the longer it takes. I've done a couple of projects here in Lubbock that have taken 8 years till we heard music in the building. I'm doing one now. God, please let the numbers come in right. But be humble about what you do, because you're going to get to do it again and again. Change lives, and that's what he's telling you, that he's okay. I mean, I don't know. But you and I as architects have the ability to change lives in how we design buildings. Now, I will warn you, you haven't met the client yet, and you haven't met the contractor. Contractors think you've lost your mind. I can't do that. You're out of your ever-loving mind, but make it simple, keep it clean, it'll work. But you have the ability to change lives in education, lives in a hospital. You get the best news in the world, the worst news in the world in a hospital. The way you design it may make that day a little more palatable and accepting in the way you design that building. But keep humble. Let everybody else take credit, but you know what you did. So, might want to speak to being humble.
I think I do think that's a great comment, and I put it on there for a reason. I do think it's important. I think there's an image of architects. My wife's an interior designer, and interior designers will at times, we're having some interesting conversations with interior designers right now, and they say, well, you architects kind of have this complex that you're just a little better than us. And I think that's unfortunate, and if that is the case here, the reason I put that in there is it shouldn't be. I'm telling you, we're successful because we're successful as a group, a team. We're not successful because we're on our own. We're successful because we're surrounded by brilliant people with a lot of talents in a lot of areas. And I do think that's a really important thing, especially when you're a little younger. You kind of have this, I'm 10 foot tall and I walk on water kind of complex. And it's an unfortunate thing. It doesn't take long. I had gray hair when I was 32 years old because clients gave it to me. And I'm really not joking about that, because you have these things you create that you really want to see built, and your clients have other ideas, and guess what? They call the shots at the end of the day, and they'll humble you along the way. I think the best thing you do is stay humble. I did not say this at the beginning, but this is important to say to you guys. So I say I jump out of bed every morning, and I jump out of bed every morning for two reasons. I love who I work with, and I mean absolutely, positively love who I work with, and I love my clients. I love the work we do. It's the most rewarding job you can have. There's no more rewarding job in the world. I get out of every day so excited because I got to talk to you guys, but because of days that I just get to go in the office and just see the most amazing, creative people in the world doing what they do. I mean, it's just fun to do. You've chosen the best profession, and people really will respect you for it. They will love you for it. I think it's just, trust me, you've signed up for the greatest thing in the world, but you do at times have to be a little humble about it. So.
One question online. Are there any efforts being made to help improve the El Paso Huckabee College of Architecture campus?
Yeah, we talked about that. We had a conversation about that today. So our focus right now is first here on the Lubbock campus, but I think long term, we actually had a conversation the dean and I did today about a vision to work on that campus as well. So the answer is yes. We're just so you guys know, and I made this comment when the original gift was given. So I spent a lot of time on the Board of Regents, and so unfortunately for your president, Lawrence Skuvenek, I kind of know my way around how to get things done at Texas Tech. And so he and I are meeting, we're talking about this gift, and I didn't quite get enough money out of him. I got $35 million for the renovation. And if I'm being honest with you guys, we probably need double that to do what we need to do here. And I ran into Lawrence the other day and said, I'm coming back to you for more money. And he goes, good, as long as you writing the check. And I was like, no. So we need more money. And so first, to answer that question a long way, is we're focused here. There's a lot that needs to be done here. And then second will be that. So it will be a rather lengthy project, but yes, at the end of the day, there is a hope to do that. We're really excited about what's going to take place here. There's a hand up back there.
Question over here.
I'm sorry. So what steps would you recommend to someone who wants to open their own firm one day?
So I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, sorry. What steps would you recommend to someone who wants to open their own firm one day?
Yeah, so my recommendation is you should. I didn't say this when I was talking about mentors, but every one of the internships that I had were really because my mentors, because John and Jim White, it was more or less known at the end of the day I was going to go to work for my dad, but I really wanted other experiences. So my recommendation to you would be go get experience. And that doesn't have to be at one firm. In fact, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to go to one firm. So go get some varied experiences and decide what you love. Because there's really two things there's multiple things, obviously. You can do in architecture, but if you're in a firm, today there seems to be kind of two firms out there, and what I would call a boutique firm who really does a little bit of everything and has a great reputation for design. And then there's a lot of us who are become very specialized in certain areas. And that seems to be kind of the two ways firms have gone today. So I think you decide which appeals to me. Do I want to develop a name for myself as a firm that we're incredible designers in a certain area, or do I want to be an expert in a certain area? Sorry. Part of the reason clients hire us is we are very safe. And I know that sounds funny, but we're safe. We will do over $5 billion this year in construction dollars, so a lot. we really know what we're doing in certain areas. And so we're a very safe choice for a client to say, hey, I'm going to give you, $500 million and you go do this project, that kind of thing. That's not going to appeal to everybody. It certainly will appeal to a lot of people. So some people are going to want to go do a niche. So get some experience with some firms first, and then get registered as soon as possible. I will tell you guys, my dad was a tough guy. And the day I graduated, and that picture was taken, it was up there of John and I and my dad. And my dad's a tough guy. When I say this, you'll appreciate it. My dad says, congratulations, that doesn't impress me. You want to impress me, get registered. I was like, well, you thought I'd give me 24 hours of this before you, but it motivated me. And I remember saying, game on, I'm going to get registered. And so I started doing every single thing I had to do. Let's get every single thing filled out. Let's make sure I get every area. Let's study for the exam, still those things. So, you can look at how old I am and date me, but I'm an old guy. So back in my day, they only offered the exam one time a year, and they offered every single section, but it was done in person. So we would all gather in one location, you take the exam. Okay, guys, so I decided I'm gonna get design out of the way. So it was site planning and design. The site planning was half a day and design was a full day. You'd walk in and they would give you the design. You had all day and you turned it in, okay? I failed both, flatly failed both. I thought I passed both, by the way. So when I got my results, it was devastating. I mean, gosh, devastating. So I decided, game on, I need to get my act together and I really got to get this done. And so I studied nonstop. I had a young child, my son Andrew had just been born. It's tough. You go to work all day and weekends you spend studying, and I get it. And it's maybe a little easier now because you can take them one at a time, and that just wasn't the case. And I went in and took every single one of them, and I passed every single thing, design, site, but every section except one. And I had to go back and take that one more time. It was like pre-design or something like that. So I got it out of the way pretty quick. And I understand for you guys, let me just say this, life gets in the way, and I understand that. And I go to young architects in our office all the time and say, look, I get it. You got bills to pay, and you got children, or you got this, or you got that. It's definitely, whatever you're doing, get your registration. And I mean that because that will be the key to opening an office. Because if you don't do that, then you walk a really weird line constantly with clients. Clients are always going to refer to you. By the way, the minute you graduate and you go to work for a firm, they're going to refer to you as an architect. This is an architect. And weirdly enough, you have to tell the world you're not, which is a weird thing. Well, no, not technically. And trust me, you'll be told don't do that because you don't want to mislead a client. And of course you won't. But it's a weird thing. So getting that registration out of the way and doing it as soon as practically possible is vitally important, because it is the most important step, especially if you want to go open an office. Now, I have lots of people at the top of my company that are not architects, by the way. They're interior designers, they're graphic designers, they're engineers, they're everything in the world. But if architecture is where you want to go, if you get that out of the way, then it'll never be a slippery slope for you. You'll never have to say, hey, look, I'm part of this firm, but I'm not a registered architect. It's just and clients are like, explain that to me. It's just a hard thing to explain. And the later you go in life, the more difficult it'll be. So I do recommend doing it as soon as practical to get out of the way and just make it happen. It does seem, I will tell you from trends we're seeing in our office, it does seem to be harder now to get people to go take their exam than it used to be. People just get busy, and I think it's easier, there's more access, so it's like, hey, no worries, I'll wait, and then it becomes a challenge. It's very, very important to do.
One last question. We need to wrap it up here pretty quick. One last question. On your presentation, you had to take care of yourself first.
Yeah, very important.
Three out of 5 of our students work to get themselves through their education. And there's so much valuable information here from all the great professors that we have, and so much energy here in our student body, such a great fabric of people here in our college, both here in El Paso. What kind of advice can you give us so that as students we don't get burned out? How can we put ourselves first, and how can we pace ourselves so that we have a healthy career?
It's not easy, one, it's a very demanding career. It's a very rewarding career, but it will draw a lot on you, and your clients will ask a lot of you. Your employers will ask a lot of you. So it's not easy. And I want to start by saying that. I'm not saying something I don't know. So I will share with you guys, I woke up at 40 years old, 100 pounds almost overweight, and in a really bad physical condition, and realized I'd built a really incredible company, but I had not taken care of myself. And I had a doctor tell me, this is a quote, he goes, "Do you have a bad life?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Why are you trying to kill yourself?" And I went, "Well, you have my attention." And he said, and I just said, "I'm building a great company." He goes, "Great, someone else is going to get to enjoy it." And it scared me to death. And so I remember saying to my wife, "I don't know how I do this. Too many people are counting on me. When do I have time to go get in shape?" And my wife said, "You better figure it out." And my wife is a black belt in karate, is the baddest ass human being alive. So I mean that, like, really bad, like she could like hurt you. So she just kind of says it the way it is, and she's like, "I don't know, but you better figure it out." And I remember thinking, yeah, she's right. I mean, she was right. It was hard, but she was right. And so I set out a priority, which was I'm going to have to get up earlier than humans should awake in the morning in order to get it in. And I don't like that, but that's what I'm going to have to do in order to get myself back in balance. And I'm going to have to figure out how to eat a little more normal. And it honestly, guys, it was small changes that changed my life. But what I would say is figure out what works for you, but do it. I mean, it's important. No one's going to make you do it. Do it, whatever's important to you, you do it. But somehow, this is a profession that really can get you out of balance. And it gets me out of balance frequently because a lot of people need my time, and I believe they deserve my time. But every once in a while, I just have to say, enough, enough, enough. I've had all we can do, and now I'm going to go take a little time for me. You got to be a little selfish about that. It's very difficult, admittedly, to do when you're in college and you're getting asked to do the things you're being asked to do here and go to work. It's a lot. It is a lot. And you need to kind of figure, honestly, what I would tell you is at times you're going to have to find the will to say no to things you actually want to say yes to, the fun stuff. But you need to, just so you can kind of step back just a little bit from things. And it's challenging. You really got to find that balance, and just you will do it, but it is not easy. Very, very challenging. I wish I had this perfect success story for you there, and I don't, except to say awareness is where that begins. If you have an awareness in your mind, I got to do this, that at times you'll get out of balance, but if you have that awareness, you'll bring yourself back to center at times, and that's going to be the key.
On behalf of all of us, thanks to your dad, thanks to your mom, thanks to your wife, your kids, everybody that's helped you along this way, and thank you so much for being here today. It's an absolute pleasure to host this part of our meeting, and we really look forward to a great future under your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you.